You know, when the white shirt comes out, we're talking about quiet luxury. From your resident loud luxury gal. Okay, so today it's not so much about quiet luxury, but really we're talking about the impact of trends and shifts in tastes in the luxury watch market. We've spoken about quiet luxury a little bit on this channel, but today I shall be going by one definition. Quiet luxury has a few definitions and interpretations of what this means to people, but I'm really going to be focusing on the route of people buying more minimalist pieces, getting more bang for their buck. For example, when you buy those more minimalist pieces, you do tend to get a bit more versatility out of them because they're less trendy and shouty. Again, those more classic, timeless investment pieces. And if we're talking about investment pieces, there really is nothing like a luxury watch. This is something that is very much seen to be the mark of a milestone, okay? Maybe it's a significant birthday, a significant career goal, the birth of a child, whatever it is. Watches do tend to have this sort of sentimentality attached to them. It's always been one of those like good investment pieces, but really over the last few years the watch market has boomed. We've sort of died down a little bit. I'll be covering all of that. Sotheby's reported that there was a 30% increase in both bidders and buyers over the course of 2021 for their auctions. Now we know that luxury watches, the pre-loved market, especially resale pre-loved market, shot through the roof as a result of pandemic production constraints, okay? Whereas before you would be able to walk into a Rolex boutique and say, hello, I would love a black-face Submariner in gold and stainless steel, and they would wrap it right up and hand it over to you. Now it was becoming akin to an Hermes game. You sort of had to learn the tactics and the strategies, and you've got to ring around the roses with it, and there's an interview, and there's is there a significant reason for you wanting this watch, and how many of our watches have you bought previously, and would you be interested in any other watches, or is it just the one? You know, it was becoming very much like that. And it sort of still is to an extent. You can't just like walk into Rolex and get what you want and leave. But there has definitely been a little bit of a slowdown. Honestly, it got to a point where it was so crazy that it simply just had to, you know, die down a bit. Bryn Wallner, who is the person behind Dime Piece, which is a website and an Instagram page that focuses on luxury watches for women, also attributed the boom in popularity of luxury timepieces to huge record-breaking auctions that we've had over the last few years, interesting collaborations like the Tiffany Patek Philippe watch, as well as a rise in celebrities spotted wearing watches, specifically female celebrities. We've always seen men wearing watches and that being a thing, but I think amongst women, luxury watches has maybe been something that hasn't been so widely, I don't know if the word is popularised. And look, a watch is a watch, okay? It's not like, it's sort of strange that it's a bit more trendy to wear a watch now than it is, because people who like value any timepiece on their wrist is just like, well, I like wearing a watch sort of thing. It's not really a trend, but to some degree it is. So yes, increasing coverage on social media with celebrities wearing watches, all of that, sometimes even wearing two watches at the same time. Oh my gosh, shock horror. Guys, if you're new here, my name is Cassie and I'm a self-diagnosed luxury addict. I put out videos on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, so if you like luxury fashion, then you're going to love it here. So head on there, subscribe, turn on the bell, become a member of our luxury addicted family. When are we going to rehab? Never. What I wanted to do was sort of compare watch trends of yesteryears past, so like around the 2020 mark, and watch trends now. And there is definitely a shift along that sort of quiet luxury road that I thought would be interesting to sort of summarise. So let's take it back, 2020, what were the watch trends? Larger watches for women. Traditionally, ladies' watches, because they have sort of in more recent years, they've sort of broken the barriers between like what is a women's collection and what is a men's collection. Some brands more than others. Some brands have done away with it completely, and it's like, we're unisex, do what you want sort of thing. But traditionally, women's watches are dainty and tiny, TWE, tiny watch energy. Some of them, you needed a magnifying glass to, you know, have a look at what sod in time it was. So delicate and dainty and, you know, petite, okay? Whereas there was definitely a shift in 2020, and this is very much down my alley, towards larger watch sizes in general for women. A lot of women were shopping in the men's section. I love a sodding man's watch. I love a big face Billy. I don't know why that came out of my mouth, but it did, okay? And from now on, I shall only be referring to large watches as big face Billies. So, a few brands also decided to come out with larger watch sizes for women following this sort of trend. Cartier, Omega. Another trend was colour. Colour in the dials, faces of the watches. Specifically, the biggest colour was green. Oh yes. Bottega green really cemented itself in our minds, and it was green face or nothing. Still to this day, one of like the hardest Submariner Rolexes to get is the Hulk. Oh, it's glorious. There were lots of watches coming out in a range of colours. The Rolex Oyster Perpetual. And this also tied in with, after lockdown, and us obviously, you know, having a miserable time, we really saw an increase in the general trend across fashion of dopamine dressing, okay? Wearing those pieces that were maybe traditionally more evening-y, you know, feathers and sequins and crystals and all of that, and going, sod it, I want to wear it during the day because it makes me happy. And that also translated into watch trends as well, with these sort of colourful faces. However, there are sort of two trends that have followed through into what we're seeing today. One of which is an interest in vintage watches, and I think that has also been spurred on by how crazy it has been to get some of the newer designs that people are looking to vintage and going, I'm going to get a better deal. And maybe also a little bit more unique pieces or styles that aren't really produced today. But also a little bit more minimalist, less flashy, less diamonds. Now, if we fast forward to 2023, and a big watch trend at the moment is flipping things around, smaller watches. And by smaller watches, I mean faces less than, like 36 millimeters and under. We are back to that sort of dainty vibe. If we even look at a recent launch, the Cartier Banois, I think is the correct pronunciation, that is very much down that route. This watch was first designed in 1906, and then, you know, sort of had its time, fell off. 2023, relaunched. That tells you something about the sort of taste of the time. It's a very simple, classic watch design. It's something that you can easily say whether or not it's your style, not my style, that, oh yeah, that's going to stand the test of time, right? It's inoffensive, right, in terms of trends. It's going to go with everything. It's a safe bet. Even if we look at face colours, there has been more of a shift towards things like pale pinks, blush pinks, champagnes. Again, we're leaning more neutral as opposed to the, you know, greens of 2020-ish. Again, people are loving vintage. One of the biggest sort of like trending watches at the moment is the Cartier Panthère de Cartier. Is it I think it's Panthère de Cartier. Now, I don't know if this tells us the state of fashion publications at the moment, but Nicola Peltz Beckham, shockingly, wore 2 on 1 wrist on holiday, and every publication was telling us about it. But that sort of epitomises that smaller face, vintagey look, whether vintage or not, right? And that sort of very timeless, classic vibe. Now, another trend, I'm not really sure how this sort of weaves into my point, but I sort of thought, let's throw it in there because it is a trend, are jewellery watches, okay? For an example of this, you've got something like the popularity of the Bulgari Serpenti, okay? You know I love this watch. I love it in the white ceramic. I don't know if maybe I've been brainwashed because, yes, the popularity of it, I'm seeing it a lot. I'm like, oh my gosh, do I see my wrist in this lovely little, you know, curly snake tail? All of that. Happens to the best of us. But this is more of a jewellery watch. Even Dior's gem watch, it's that kind of thing. They tend to be a little bit more... What is the word? I was going to say creative. I don't think that's a good word to describe it. They look less like traditional watches, okay, and more like jewellery. Come on, Cassie, sort of state the obvious. But, I mean, again, whether sort of classic and timeless or whatever or not, they do tend to definitely lean down that smaller face, feminine in its design sort of area. Now, this is not to say that everybody is going down this watch route, okay? For example, Rihanna attended the Louis Vuitton men's show, Pharrell's debut show, and she was wearing a Jacob & Co., the least quiet luxury watch brand in existence, okay? That man is loud luxury and a moment for him. She wore a Jacob & Co. watch on a choker, okay? She laughs in the face of quiet luxury, which I kind of love. And buy what you want. If your vibe is classic and timeless, you do it. If your vibe is the bigger the better, the big face Billy, you go for it, okay? I just thought it was sort of interesting to look at the watch trends over the last few years, but also I wouldn't be surprised if we see more and more of these big brands dipping their toes into luxury watches. And I don't just mean watches that have the luxury logo on them, like Gucci watches. I mean playing with the big boys. So for example, Louis Vuitton is relaunching the Tambour watch. This is a watch that they've done for a while, and off the top of my head, this thing, like when I used to see it in stores, was sort of maybe like 3,000 to 5,000-ish sort of pounds, maybe around that. I might be overshooting it, might be more around 2, okay? But that sort of price point. They're now relaunching this, making tweaks of it. It's going to replace 80% of their watch offering, or thereabouts, and the prices are going to range from $18,000 to $52,000. They're wanting to play with the likes of, I don't even know if Rolex is in that category anymore, a level of, you know, a selection of Rolex watches, AP, Patek Philippe, all of those big boys that we know have been really enjoying their moment in the sunshine over the last few years. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were the only sort of like big luxury player wanting to dip their toe in said market. What do you think of the watch trends? Are you a big faced Billy or a tiny faced Timmy? You let me know. I'm going to leave a link to another video over here in case you haven't already seen it. Have an amazing morning, afternoon or evening wherever you are. And in the words of my father,
if you've enjoyed it, tell your friends. If you haven't, keep your mouth shut.
I'll see you in my next video. Mwah. Bye guys.